The stage is officially set for the biggest Valorant event of the year. We now know all 16 teams who will be competing in Paris in just a couple weeks' time for the Champions Trophy. But the lead up to Champions has been full of surprises. So let's talk a bit about how we got here. Stage 2 playoffs wrapped up in most regions this past weekend, delivering us some banger matchups and storylines heading into Paris. But before that, we were treated to the 2025 finale of VCT China.
Okay guys, before we get into it, I just wanted to thank Anthros for sponsoring this video. If you spend serious hours gaming, you know how much your setup matters, and your chair is a critical part of that. Anthros isn't a typical gaming chair brand. They started in the medical world designing wheelchair cushions that support spinal alignment and reduce pressure. Now they've brought that same expertise to create one of the most advanced ergonomic chairs available. That's exactly why Anthros was chosen as the official chair of ESL and DreamHack, showing that it's a performance tool trusted by top esports professionals. Anthros chairs offer unmatched customizability, using in-depth scientific data to ensure a tailor-made experience that maximizes your comfort and performance. Anthros is so committed to your satisfaction that they even offer a no-risk 60-day trial on their chairs, giving you the chance to truly make sure it's right for you. We've been using the Anthros chair ourselves, and the difference is clear. Premium materials, elite adjustability, and all-day comfort. So if performance matters to you, whether you're grinding ranked or working long hours, check out Anthros using the link in the description and upgrade your setup. Now, back to today's story.
The biggest surprise over in China was that Wolves, the team who finished top 3 at Masters Toronto, failed to make playoffs and saw their hopes of qualifying for Champions evaporate. But that opened the door for XLG and EDG to qualify for the tournament off of circuit points. So despite a pretty middling year, EDG still has a chance to defend their title. They definitely aren't coming into this event as favorites, but to be fair, I don't think anyone would have called them that last year either. The other 2 representatives from China are Dragon Ranger Gaming and Stage 2 champions Bilibili Gaming.
一定要帮助McCrossan抛出烟火，把McCrossan的现金局势打没了，点内还在换，结束了，无畏的翅膀松在山城翱翔，恭喜 BLG 成为2025 VCT 3的年度总冠军。
Despite going out in the Swiss stage in Toronto, BLG have looked better and better as the year has gone on, and they definitely look to be the team to keep an eye on in Paris. But another thing to note that because of Riot's current rules for Ascension teams, DRG and XLG will both be battling to retain their VCT spot. Whichever team outperforms the other gets to stay up, while the other team has to fight to keep their spot at the Ascension tournament. So there's a lot of pressure on these rosters. We're just gonna have to wait and see who handles it the best. But next, let's move on to Pacific, where things kind of went as expected for the most part. T1 qualified on circuit points, thanks in large part to their win in Bangkok at the start of the year. But to be fair to them, they have shown improvement throughout the tail end of the season, and they honestly could be a dark horse in Paris. But we need to talk about Gen.g real quick, because those guys have sort of become serial chokers. They were up 10-2 on map 2 and on the verge of eliminating RRQ from playoffs, but they only managed to win 1 round in the second half, losing the map and eventually the series. This is a really worrying trend for Gen.g. The amount of times they've blown substantial leads this season shows that they might need some sort of mental coach. But nevertheless, what we really need to talk about is the lower final over in Pacific, because it was insane. Talon needed to win against RRQ in order to earn the final spot for their region at Champions, and at first it looked like they were going to do just that. They were up 2-0 in the series and 1 map away from qualifying for Paris. But then they absolutely collapsed.
Talon might have the sights around it, but the firepower not quite there. They try to initiate things with utility, but outside of the smokes, Jinboy, he lights things up! This is coming out of nowhere! 1v1 and Sparrow! Dishes back the 4K! And that will end the map 13-10. We go for another! And you're just down to Thigh. Tries to make a go for it. Cruz beginning to make his move. Yet spots it out. Jemkin with the final nail in the coffin. And RRQ are on this warpath to the final map. RRQ just look to play together as a team. Oh, this flash can be everything. Got sent out. Quickly trying to make their hold. RRQ as a full squad managed to find those frags. It's just Cruz left. 1 kill, and that's all it takes. RRQ 14-12 is the final. continue into this grand final.
Definitely a rough way for Talon to end their season by getting reverse swept. They mostly have themselves to blame for not closing things out, but props to RRQ for their resilience once again. Talon's loss in the lower final meant that DRX qualified to champions instead. But the #1 seed from the Pacific is of course Paper Rex, who followed up their Masters Toronto win with yet another domestic trophy, beating RRQ 3-1 in the grand final.
A massive just flight peak from Forsaken, spots him, but Jemkin says, yes, my presence is known, but eventually he's taken down. 13-7, 3-1 in the series. Paper Rex are once again your BCT Pacific champions.
DRX will be hoping to win the one trophy that's still missing from their cabinet, and they're definitely heading into Paris as one of the favorites. But next up, we gotta talk about EMEA, where there were plenty of surprises. Despite seeing early exits in playoffs, Fnatic and Heretics both qualified for champions on circuit points. Fnatic definitely saw a dip in form, but finishing second in Toronto definitely helped secure their spot in Paris. But Heretics, on the other hand, have Nats and Liquid to thank. Okay, in order for Heretics to qualify, they needed Liquid to beat BBL in the upper final. But BBL were up 12-11 on the third and final map, one round away from champions. But then Nats happened.
If he wins this, a huge ult removed, but Nats is the one to find it. No shield for Levin. He's stuck inside his pit, but firing back takes down Sociable. Even lands Magnum! And this is a ruse, a one-man fake. 2v5, turn 4 retake. HP even being healed up for BBL to win it here. Well, you'd have to take a look at what's on the other side, and Nats is waiting to finish the job. He started an ace to take them to overtime. The leader of the pack.
Off the back of that disgusting ace from Nats, Liquid went on to win the match in overtime, gifting Heretics a lifeline at champions. But we gotta talk about Nats because this dude has been performing like a god all season. Kiko might be their best player statistically, but Nats' impact this year for Liquid has been just absurd. We have seen this guy take over matches countless times this season alone, all while IGLing for his team. Liquid and Nats went on to 3-0 Giant X in the EMEA Grand Final to lift their first domestic trophy since 2023. But there's no doubt that they're heading into Paris as one of the favorites. Credit is also due to Giant X, who went on a hell of a run in playoffs to earn themselves EMEA's second seed at Champions. The past 2 years, we've seen teams hit top form right around Champions and shock the world, so this roster is definitely one to look out for. Last but not least, we need to talk about the one-team region, VCT Americas, because G2 just stay winning. Despite playing out all of group stage with BabyBay subbing in for Leaf, who was sidelined due to health issues, BabyBay proved that even though he's spent the last couple of years casting, he still got it. In fact, BabyBay was the highest rated player in the playoffs before Leaf returned for their upper final matchup against Sentinels. Leaf has basically been the best performer on G2 this season, and if there were any doubts about whether or not he'd pick right up where he left off, well, he answered those questions immediately. He topped the server in his return against Sentinels, sending G2 to yet another domestic grand final. But the lower bracket Americas was pretty interesting too. Cloud9 kept their choking narrative going by losing yet another qualification match, but NRG were the ones to send them packing this time around. This team has shown massive improvements late in the season. Ethan's calling has leveled up, but the rookies have really impressed as of late. Scuba, Mata, and most notably Brock really stepped up to send them to Paris. Dude is a savant with the Odin somehow. NRG even went on to beat Sentinels in the lower final to secure the region's second seed at Champions. But Sunday, we were reminded that G2 are still the kings of the region.
The energy's there to let the plan go down because they can take this one together. Lit up by the wall, G2, domination domestically, and they have got their three-peats.
G2's domestic dominance this year is unlike anything we've seen in the partnership era. No other team managed a clean sweep of domestic trophies like they did this year. There's no doubt that G2 are a lot of people's personal favorites heading into Paris, but after the Americas Grand Final, we were treated to the Champions Draw Show, and here's how things shaped out.
On Group A, you got Paper X, XLG, Giant X, and Sentinels. In Group B, you have BLG, MIBR, RRQ, and Fnatic. In Group C, you have Team Liquid, DRX, NRG, and EDG. And finally in Group D, G2, Team Heretics, DRG, and T1. Audience, who do you think's the group of death? Say it out loud.
So there will definitely be some spicy early matchups in Paris. We won't get to see the NRG versus BLG matchup that everyone was dying to see in groups, but Group D is absolutely the group of death. Champions is honestly set to be an absolutely amazing tournament. Will G2 finally win an international trophy? Will Paper X go back-to-back and complete a clean sweep of trophies for the Pacific region? Will Nats and Liquid go all the way, or will we see yet another underdog or dark horse take home the trophy like we have in past years? No matter what happens, we'll make sure to keep you updated with all the news as things unfold.